Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. So my name is Hana Sofea.
My name is KHALEESA.
So today we will be presenting about our fact-checking interview analysis.
So for the agenda, there are three agenda, which is the interviewee, the list of question, and also the analysis.
So first, I will introduce our interview. Her name is Darnita, anak perempuan Rameswaran. She is 20 years old, an Indian. She is single and comes from Nilai Negeri Sembilan. She studies at Halim Mazmin Aerospace and is a student. Her studies focus on theory like navigation, safety procedures, and aviation laws. This is her picture. She is wearing a uniform because she studies aviation. That is all about our interviewee.
Next is the justification on why we choose the subject. So we chose Miss Darnita as our interviewee because she represents a unique and diverse perspective on communication in Indian culture. As a 20-year-old aviation student, she interacts daily with classmates from different ethnic backgrounds, including Malays, Chinese, and Indians. This exposure allows her to provide valuable insights into how cultural diversity influences communication styles both within her own culture and in a multicultural setting.
So here is the list of the questions that we asked her for chapter 4, which is we touch about verbal issues in intercultural communication. Question number 1, how do people in your culture usually talk to each other in daily life? For question number 2, do people in your culture use a lot of slangs or jokes when talking? For question number 3, how has social media changed the way people talk in your culture? In chapter 5, the topic is about nonverbal communication issues. For question 4, how has social media changed the way people talk in your culture? For question 5, how do people in your culture solve problems when they disagree? In the last chapter, which is chapter 6, we touch about culture, communication, and conflicts. So, are there any special traditions in your culture that affect how people communicate?
So there are also lists of the follow-up questions, which are chapter 4, verbal issues in intercultural communication. The first question is, do they prefer being direct or indirect when sharing their thoughts? Second, can you give me an example of a slang word or joke that might confuse someone from another culture? Number 3, do you think social media has made communication better or worse? For chapter number 5, which is nonverbal communication issues, question number 4, are there situations where people avoid eye contact or use gestures to show respect? Number 5, are there any traditions or rules that help people fix problems peacefully? Last is chapter number 6, which is culture, communication, and conflict. Question number 6, how do these traditions help people understand each other better? So for the first question, which is how do people in your culture usually talk to each other in daily life? Miss Tarnita's response is, in Indian culture, the way we talk depends a lot on who we are speaking to. For example, when we talk to elders or people in authority, we are usually respectful and polite. We use a softer tone and choose our words carefully because it shows like respect. Because it is very important to show respect in their culture. But when she is talking to her friends, um, they are much more casual and the conversation can be lively and full of laughter. And they also tend to mix English and their native language, which is Tamil or Hindi, depending on who they're talking to. So for the analysis, Miss Darnita, she demonstrates how social status and relationships influence communication in Indian culture. A polite tone and careful word choice demonstrate respect for elders and authority figures, which is consistent with traditional Indian beliefs. Friendship discussions, on the other hand, are more casual and animated, demonstrating the capacity to transition between formal and informal speech depending on the circumstance. Indian society is multilingual, as seen by the employment of several languages such as Tamil or Hindi combined with English. Depending on their audience, this code switching facilitates better communication and more effective self expression. So, for the follow up, do people prefer being direct or indirect when sharing their thoughts? Miss Darnita's response is that she really depends on the situation. In their culture, people are often indirect if they want because they want to avoid hurting someone's feeling or causing conflict, especially with family or elders. For example, if they disagree with an elder, they might express it in a subtle way instead of being straightforward. But if it's with their close friends or peers, they can be more direct because the peers or friends know that they won't take it the wrong way. So it's all about maintaining harmony and understanding the other person's feelings. So the analysis for this question is that Miss Darnita's response highlights that people in her culture often prefer an indirect approach, especially in formal or respectful situations. This suggests that Indian communication values politeness and subtlety to maintain harmony. However, she also mentions that directness is sometimes used among close family and friends, showing flexibility based on relationships.
So, for the question number two, do people in your culture use a lot of slang or jokes when they're talking? So, the interviews respond is slang is very common, especially among young people. They mix English with their native language to make new words. Humor is also important. It comes from wordplay, culture, and exaggerations. Friends joke with each other for fun, but they do not joke about sensitive topics. In the analysis, slang and humor help people connect. Slang creates a sense of belonging, and humor makes conversation more fun. Playful teasing shows friendship, but people are careful to be respectful. In conclusion, slang and humor are important in Indian communication. They help people feel close and make conversation interesting. In the textbooks, page 63, where it explains slang is a dynamic and creative aspect of language that plays a crucial role in establishing a sense of community identity among its users. For the follow-up question, can you give an example of a slang word or joke that might confuse someone from another culture? For the interviewee's response, she said that one common slang word in Tamil is chumma, which means just like that or for fun. It is frequently used in casual conversation among Tamil speakers. For example, if someone's asked, why did you do that? The response might be, oh, chumma, meaning there was no particular reason. People from other cultures might take it literally and get confused. So, Tamil jokes often rely on culture references. If someone is unfamiliar with the context, they might not understand the humor. For the analysis, Miss Danita provides specific slang words and explains their meanings. This helps illustrate the uniqueness of Indian expressions. She gives an example of how certain jokes may be misunderstood due to cultural references. So, this emphasizes that humor is deeply tied to cultural knowledge and context.
So, for the third question, how has social media changed the way people talk in your culture? For the interviewee's response, is that social media has had a huge impact on the way people communicate in her culture. It has made communication faster and more convenient, especially for young people. Now, they can stay connected with friends and family, no matter where they are, but it has also changed the way they express themselves. Like, for example, people use a lot of emojis, abbreviations, and memes to communicate their feelings, which can sometimes replace words. So, social media has also introduced them to global trends. So, you'll see a mix of Indian culture and international influences in the way people talk online. So the analysis is that Ms. Darnita's reaction demonstrates how social media has accelerated and facilitated communication in Indian society. The growing usage of memes, emojis, and acronyms demonstrates how digital interactions depend more on symbolic and visual emotions than merely words. So this change is indicative of a more informal and outspoken communication style, especially among youth. Furthermore, traditional Indian culture has been influenced by global trends, creating a distinctive blend of regional and global expressions in online discussions. So this development shows how language is changing on social media while maintaining cultural identity. We also found a sentence or from in page 63, which is talking about email, text messaging, and Twitter prioritize low context, direct, and understand communication. These platforms emphasizes precision and efficiency, ensuring that the meaning is clearly conveyed through words alone. Next is the follow up question. Do you think social media has made conversation better or worse? The interviewee's response is that she thinks it's a mix of both. On one hand, social media has made it easier for people to stay in touch and share their thoughts instantly, and it is also a great platform for learning about other cultures and perspectives. But on the other hand, it can sometimes lead to misunderstandings because messages are so short and informal. People might misinterpret the tone or meaning of a text. Also, some people rely too much on social media and don't spend enough time talking face to face, which can affect the depth of their relationships. So, for the analysis, Ms. Donita acknowledges both the positives and negatives of social media, showing a balanced perspective. She explains how it makes communication faster and more convenient, but also notes issues like misunderstandings due to the lack of tone and body language. This reflects how digital communication has changed traditional cultural interactions.
So moving on for the next question, how important is body language, like eye contact or gestures in your culture? So for this question, the interviewee's feedback is that body language is very important. Sometimes it shows more meaning than words. For example, eye contact shows confidence and honesty, but staring for too long is rude. Gestures are also important. When greeting elders, people use the namaste gesture instead of shaking hands. This shows respect. Nodding while listening shows attention and interest. In the analysis, Ms. Darnita said that body language helps communication. It shows emotion, respect, and engagement. Eye contact, gestures, and nodding make conversation better. So, in conclusion, body language is very meaningful in Indian culture. It helps people connect and understand each other. In the textbook, page 69, it explained that nonverbal communication is crucial because it often conveys more information than verbal communication and can reveal true feelings and attitudes that words might not express. So for the follow-up question, are they situations where people avoid eye contact or use gestures to show respect? Okay, so for the interviewer's response, she said that people avoid direct eye contact in certain situations, especially when speaking to elders or authority figures. This is a way of showing humility and respect. For example, if being scolded by a teacher or parent, a person might look down instead of making eye contact. These gestures are also important in traditional settings, such as touching someone's feet as a sign of respect. So these nonverbal cues are deeply rooted in culture and help maintain harmony in relationships. For the analysis, Ms. Darnita emphasizes that avoiding eye contact is a sign of respect in Indian culture, especially when speaking to elders or authority figures. This contrasts with Western cultures, where eye contact often signifies confidence. Gestures like the namaste greetings are used to show politeness, so this highlights the cultural significance of nonverbal cues.
Moving on with question 5, which is how do people in your culture solve problems when they disagree? The interviewee's response is that in Indian culture, people usually try to solve problems through discussion and compromise. If it's a small disagreement, they might talk it out directly with the person involved. But if it's a bigger issue, they often involve family members or elders to mediate and help find a solution. So elders are respected for their wisdom, so their advice is usually taken seriously. So the goal is to find a peaceful resolution that satisfies everyone, even if it means making some sacrifices. So for the analysis, Ms. Dharnita's statement demonstrates how Indian culture places a strong preference on dialogue and reaching a compromise when settling disagreements. Larger issues are frequently settled by family members or elders, whereas smaller conflicts are typically resolved immediately. This illustrates how seniors are highly respected in Indian society and how their knowledge is considered while making decisions. The goal of conflict resolution is to keep relationships harmonious and peaceful, even if it means making compromises. This demonstrates how, in Indian culture, resolving conflicts puts the good of the group ahead of the interests of any one person. So, for the follow up, are there any traditions or rules that help people fix problems peacefully? The interviewee's response is that she said that there are one example, which is the concept of panchayat, which is like a community council where disputes are resolved. It's common in rural areas, but the idea of bringing people together to discuss and solve problems is still very relevant. In families, there's also a tradition of having everyone sit together and talk openly about their concerns. This kind of open communication helps prevent conflicts from escalating and ensures that everyone feels heard. So, for the analysis, Ms. Darnita's response emphasizes the role of elders and family discussions in resolving conflicts. She explains that in her culture, problems are often settled through dialogue and compromise rather than confrontation. This suggests that Indian conflict resolution prioritizes maintaining relationships and social harmony.
Now, for the last question, are there any special traditions in your culture that affect how people communicate? So, Miss Darnita said that traditions are very important. During Deepavali, people visit family and friends to exchange gifts and greetings. These visits are not only for celebration but also to strengthen relationship. Family gatherings are also common. People share their thoughts and experience. This helps open communications and brings family members closer. In the analysis, Ms. Danita said that traditions help people stay connected. Visiting relatives and sharing stories make relationships stronger. These customs protect culture and create deep connection in the community. So, in conclusion, tradition in Indian culture are important for communication and relationships. In the textbook, page 70, nonverbal communication is highly variable across cultures, meaning the same gestures or expression can have different meanings in different cultural contexts. So, for the follow up questions, how do these traditions help people understand and So, for the follow up question, how do these traditions help people understand each other better? For the interviewee's response, Miss Danita said that cultural tradition create opportunities for meaningful interactions. Festival and family gatherings allow people to connect on a deeper level. Communication is not just about talking, but also about observing and understanding others' feelings, value, and perspectives. So, these traditions teach people to be more empathetic and respectful. Over time, this helps to strengthen relationships. So, in the analysis, cultural traditions encourage mutual respect and patience in communication. Customs like respect, greetings, and indirect speech help people avoid unnecessary conflicts. So, this tradition creates a more understanding environment. This reflects how cultural traditions shape effective communications. That's all from us. Thank you.